It's a pleasure to be here. I was honored when Pastor Chris asked me to come and do my testimony, and I want to start off this evening with a verse from 1 Peter 2:9. It's out of the Message version, and it says, "But you are the chosen ones by God for the high calling of priestly work, chosen to be a holy people, God's instrument to do His work and to speak out for Him, to tell others of the night and day difference He made for me. He took me from nothing to something, rejected to accepted." So I want to thank God tonight for my new life. I want to thank my parents and family for giving me a foundation that I could fall back on. All the men in my life are either preachers, coaches, and salesmen. So I appreciate all the different aspects that they bring to my life. My dad was a pastor. Yeah, I had two younger brothers, and we were all wild preacher's kids, let me just tell you. God bless them. If I wasn't on the sports field, football, wrestling, and baseball, we were in church. Meals, vacations, holidays. I literally was raised in the church. I was also raised to know and love and obey the Lord. I was close to a perfect childhood, I suppose. I was loved, I was popular, I was respected. I was very respectful, hardworking, and a good athlete as well as a leader. I saw towards the end of my high school days a lot of the people drinking and having a good time. So I wanted to give that a shot. I thought it looked fun, and I did. And let me tell you what, I liked it. I liked it a lot. At that point in my life, it started to go a different direction. I went from being basically a model kid, a model son, to a menace to my community. I was a violent criminal, a disappointment to my family, my church, a danger to myself and to others. I only cared about satisfying my flesh and sinful desires. I turned my back on God, and I was raised to love Him. I chose to worship drugs and alcohol instead of God, and my self-centered obsessions destroyed my marriage, my family. I went to jail, hospitals, detoxes, and even a mental institution. My life became a whirlwind of destruction. It was affecting everyone around me, my family, my friends, my kids, especially my little brother, who was also my best friend. I watched him take his own life by ingesting a lethal amount of cocaine. I was devastated. I felt totally responsible for his death. The guilt and shame and regret of watching this horribly violent, tragic death were so bad that I literally couldn't bear it. But rather than turning back to the Lord, I ran even further from Him. I didn't care about anyone, anything, especially myself. So I tried to kill all the pain by stuffing it down, drowning with alcohol, drugs, adultery, pride, anything to make the emotional pain go away. And in doing that, I gave Satan such a strong foothold. My mind was so polluted with sin that I thought my actions were so terrible, wicked, and irresponsible that somehow in my mind I thought I crossed over a line that went beyond God's grace and mercy. And I was raised to know of His love, mercy, and grace in my life. Sin was poisoning my mind and soul for years and years. I was now dying physically as well. I got severe pancreatitis from alcoholism, and I was in the hospital 7 or 8 times within 12 months. And then this year earlier, my sinful, destructful life caught up with me. One day after work, I came home, and I was in so much pain. I thought maybe it was pancreatitis, but it was not. My small intestine had perforated. It perforated an ulcer. I had sepsis, which poisoned every organ in my body just about. I also had pneumonia, cellulitis, and my heart was in AFib. I had to have emergency surgery because my organs were starting to shut down. I couldn't even see. I was blinded. The doctors weren't very optimistic for recovery. They called my family to tell them how grave my condition was. They told them my body was so infected, polluted, poisoned, that they were not confident that they could do anything for me. And they tried to prepare me for the worst. But God, you know what, this is where I get excited, because God had other plans that night. He had plans to prosper me, not to harm me. He had plans to give me a hope and a future. And he brought me through that, and he made a way for me to come up here to South Carolina and go to CLM, Change Lives Ministry. From Jacksonville, Florida, I came up here to work on my drinking problem. But when I got here, I learned it wasn't just my addictions. They were a byproduct of a much bigger problem I had, and that was lack of dependency upon God. Amen. Through being here, I learned I can't place blame on my parents, my brothers, my past circumstances, or even the devil. The challenges of my life didn't victimize me. They exposed my heart. So I rededicated my life to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, right at Change Lives Ministry, right at that table. I surrendered my life. I gave him all my baggage. I gave everything I had. I dug into the Word. I helped others. I tried to do a good job. And through that, he brought me out of the darkness and into his wonderful light. I've been blessed to have the opportunity to be the manager of Change Lives Ministry, so the Lord can use me more effectively working with others that are suffering from addiction, as well as other sinful habits. I'm humbled and honored that the Lord would entrust me to help to lead people to the cross where his love poured out for all of us. I'm grateful that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me and gives me the courage to speak out for others and minister to the weak, sick, and still suffering. Because without Christ, I can't do anything on my own. And one of the reasons I do this and I feel like this passion is because Romans 5:8, it says, God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And if I was the only person on earth, I know he would have died for me. That's just amazing. Sorry. So through God's amazing grace and his word, furthering my education in Christian counseling ministry, I am going to try to be about my Father's business, as Jesus says in Luke 2:49. And I just want to tell y'all, man, I get to have the best job. I get to every day see the hand of God working in these men's lives. It is such a blessing to be where I'm at. And like I said, it's nothing that I've done. All I did was come here and surrender. We come here to Change Lives Ministries to heal. Then the Lord strengthens us and begins to put us to work. I'm grateful for that, and I thank y'all for listening to me. God bless all y'all.